back to the Spicy Sports Show with Sam Stern and Tom Crane, coming to you live from Boston, Massachusetts, and Lancaster, Pennsylvania, somewhere on 283. I don't know. Anyway, going back to some NFL here, just to give you a live update on the scoreboard. Giants up on the Rams, 17-10 a minute. Under 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. However, the Rams are driving 3rd and 4 in the red zone of the Giants. So, that being said, we're going to move from the pro game to college here. Back to those good old college days. Hell of fun. Anyway, to kind of go over some scores from the weekend here. The Boise State goes to 7-0, defeating BYU 28-27. It was a close one. And Brett Ripken, 25 of 39, 442, 3 scores on the day. And Jeremy McNichols, 140 yards rushing on the ground for the Broncos. In some action in the top 25, you're looking at number 1 Alabama defeating Texas A&M 33-14. Jalen Hurts, another solid performance, 15-25, 164, and 2 touchdowns and more scores on the ground. Damian Harris for Alabama, 17 carries, 128 yards, and O.J. Howard, very impressive game, 8 receptions, 69 yards, and a score. For Alabama, Tom, honestly, this was the 6th best team in the country, and a team that many thought for most of the game held their own against Alabama in Tuscaloosa. And you can only do so much. And then the second half happens, and it's just all Alabama moving forward. Is Alabama winning at this rate and at this kind of clip, being so dominant, bad for college football, Tom?
To me, this Alabama team is just playing child's play when it comes to ranked teams. They will have their challenge when it comes to a playoff atmosphere, but right now when it comes to teams in the SEC, it seems like it's nothing but, as I said, child's play. They're just playing with dolls right now. They make their adjustments in the second half. Kiffin does a good job as an offensive coordinator, adjusting their offense. And basically, when I look at an Alabama game each week, I'm going to say Alabama's going to win big. So,
yeah, look, Alabama is just, like I said, by and far the best team in the country, and it's not even close, mainly because of how dominant that defense has been. The offense has been pretty fantastic. Jalen Hurts will potentially be a Heisman Trophy candidate, though I don't think he'll win it. But again, the best player on the best team in the country, absolutely. He's definitely going to be there at some point. That being said, look, Alabama's just so dominant and have so many ways of beating you. Good luck there. And it should be pretty interesting moving forward. I think there's no doubt they're going to be the number 1, the seed coming out of the SEC, and when it comes to college football playoff, and still be the number 1 team in the country come playoff time. So number 1 was great. Number 2, not so much. Ohio State going down to Penn State, 24-21. A lot of questionable calls towards the end of the game. McSorley for Penn State, not a great performance, 8 of 23, 154 yards. But Barkley on the ground for Penn State, 12 carries, 99 yards. What does this mean for Ohio State moving forward? Do they still have a chance to make to the playoff, or is this pretty much over?
Well, lost to Penn State, an unranked team, the Big Ten, that pretty much showed where Ohio State's weaknesses truly are, especially with J.T. Barrett playing not so great game. I feel like they could possibly be the 4th spot in the playoffs, but this might actually be a huge hit that they'll be knocked down to rank number 6 or number 7. So their playoff hopes might be a little bit dashed, but there's still a little hope that they will make it.
I mean, look, this is a team that blew a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter. Even doesn't matter if you're on the road or not. Blowing a 14-point lead anywhere is pretty terrible, especially with a caliber like Ohio State, who carries a team. They've been exposed in recent weeks, but again, it wasn't a big game for turnovers. Penn State just had 1 turnover in the game. Ohio State just dominated them every facet of the game, whether it be first downs, total yards, possession of the ball, which was 37-22 in favor of Ohio State. It was just a matter of Ohio State could not put the game away. And when you don't put a game away on the road, even against a team that is unranked, it's still an opponent that on any given day and any given evening, as you can see, they can beat you. And a team like Penn State, again, they're not the best team offensively, but they did just enough with a couple of scores and a blocked field goal to win the game for Penn State. What does this mean for Ohio State? It means that they're in a lot of trouble, and they play Michigan at the end of the year. They better hope that Michigan's ranked and still undefeated at that point. That's the only way, in my opinion, they get back into this discussion. They lose again prior to Michigan or to Michigan, and they're done. I just don't think there's no way you can accept a 2-loss Big Ten team. I don't care if they're the best conference in the country right now. It's just that you lose to a Penn State team that is, quite frankly, shouldn't have won that game. And enough said there. Moving on, speaking of Michigan, number 3, Michigan blows out Illinois 41-8. Pretty impressive performance from Michigan here. For Michigan, is there anything that's going to stop them other than Ohio State potentially this season, Tom?
Say again?
Is there anything that can stop Michigan other than Ohio State this season?
Not that I've seen. It's amazing how Michigan has turned itself around the past couple of years, especially defensively. And with those key players on the defense, I could see them actually beating Ohio State by maybe a score or even 2 scores. Michigan definitely will be in the playoffs this year and will give an Alabama offensive-driven team a run for its money. And on the defense end, hopefully Michigan's offense can battle it out and actually become a better offense team when it comes to the playoffs. So Michigan and Ohio State will be a good matchup, but I see Michigan beating Ohio State.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, Michigan's been unstoppable, whether it be their offense, even their defense, led by Jabril Peppers, one of the potential players to win the Heisman, first defensive player to even be considered in a while since Charles Woodson of Michigan. So it's been quite some time. They've been clicking on all cylinders. Jim Harbaugh has that team ready and locked and loaded. They just cannot have any slip ups like their rival Ohio State did last night, and they'll be just fine. They've been taking care of opponents easily and early. So we'll see what happens with Michigan when they take on Ohio State. Going out to the West Coast here, number 5 Washington's going to move up in the rankings for sure after blowing out Oregon State 41-17. Browning, another great performance, 14 of 28, 291 and 3 scores. Tom, Jake Browning's had a pretty good season, and Washington's 7-0, ranked number 5, probably going to go up to number 4 after Ohio State's loss. How much should he be considered for the Heisman at this point, and does he get enough love considering that he's out on the West Coast?
This is tough because, as you've said, on the West Coast, most of the people who pick Heisman Trophy winners are asleep and watch the reruns the next day just to see what they missed, and they don't give it as much credit as they do as teams in the Midwest to East Coast, where they can watch it right away, see the plays, the reactions that the coaches have when it comes to detrimental plays. Should he be considered? Yes. Will he be a high pick or a Heisman Trophy winner? That is yet to be determined. I'm giving it a no. And just letting you know, JT Barrett, this game that he just had, will probably knock him farther down the line on the Heisman Trophy list as well. So it's a tough call. So
yeah, I mean, look, for me, I'm going to put Browning at 2 or 3. Lamar Jackson's far and away the most electrifying player in college football. Even if he does have a loss so far this season, I think overall it hasn't been his fault for him not carrying the team for Louisville, and he's just been phenomenal with another 3-touchdown performance and another score on the ground against NC State yesterday. And I probably put number 2 Jabril Peppers in terms of his versatility, whether it be on the kick returning game. Even if his offense has been amazing, and of course, again, he's known for his defensive prowess at the linebacker or defensive end position, whatever you want to put him at. So for me, Browning's at number 3 on the Heisman Trophy candidate list, just because of the way he's been performing. I mean, look, he doesn't turn over the ball; he runs the ball as well as passing, which is fantastic for Washington. He's just has not made the mistake so far. And again, the Pac-12 is probably for me the second best conference. I'd say Big Ten's number one, and Pac-12's right there this season. So I mean, Browning probably deserves more love. I think as the season goes on, and if teams go down in front of them, they're gonna have to take a better look at Browning and be like, look, this guy's legit, as I have seen him so far. Louisville again, 54-13 over NC State. Nebraska, close one, 27-14 over Purdue. Wisconsin getting by Iowa 17-9. Houston going down again, unfortunately. The number 11 ranked team in the country going down to SMU, 38-16. West Virginia, 34-10 winners over TCU. West Virginia's right now is 6-0 to start off the season. Is this a team, Tom, in West Virginia that should be more looked at more heading in as it comes down the stretch in the Big 12?
They should. They are a team that has played well this season. They haven't been like top 25 teams in America, but they are a team that should not be considered lightly. If you do, you just saw what SMU could do. So they will make sure that they are the better team when it comes to the game. So yeah, Big 12, SMU definitely should put every team in Big 12 on notice that they have arrived.
Yeah, look, West Virginia, you have Baylor, and you still have Oklahoma at 5-2, undefeated in the Big 12 so far. Pretty impressive stuff. So that three horse race is going to keep the Big 12 probably, again, for me, probably the third or fourth best conference in the country, behind the Big 10 and the Pac-12. It should be interesting when they all play each other down the stretch. But again, I like West Virginia. I like what they've been doing offensively. And what's been more impressive for me is their winning with defense, which is something you don't do in the Big 12. So for them to do it and in such a fashion to shut down teams like TCU and other teams in the conference, has been fantastic to see so far. Going down the scoreboard here, Western Michigan right now, 8-0, number 20 in the country, and probably going to move up a little bit after a couple teams above them lost. Looking at Western Michigan's schedule, here's what you got out of the MAC. So as I'm pulling it up right now, you have Ball State, you have at Kent State, at home against Buffalo, and at home against Toledo. So assuming that Western Michigan goes undefeated here, you still have Boise State ahead of them in the best in terms of ranked outside of the power conferences here. But should Western Michigan be considered for a New Year's Six game, Tom?
That is questionable. I'd give it a 50-50. Western Michigan does have a semi-tough challenge road ahead of them, especially with Toledo and Boise State. Boise State with their football field, I still find it crazy that they have blue turf. It will be a little bit difficult, but I will give it a 51-49 that they will.
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, I look for Western Michigan. It's impressive to see them thus far this season. Again, I don't see them even if they go undefeated, they're not getting in the playoff. They're quite frankly not one of the four best teams in the country, and their schedule says that, and their conference is just terrific. Let's be real here; it's not a big conference where you have big time players. That being said, it's still impressive what Western Michigan's done, going undefeated in college football, no matter what division. It's just impressive nonetheless. So we'll see what happens there. So we're going to go to some Pick'em, Tom, for this upcoming week in college football here. So let's pull it up for week number 9. So West Virginia, speaking of which, they take on Oklahoma State at Oklahoma State. So West Virginia, again, 6-0, 3-0 in the conference. Do they go to 4-0 in conference play, Tom?
Against the decent Oklahoma team, I would say no. I think this will be their first loss.
Fair enough. Michigan State, you can check that out on ESPN at noon Eastern. Michigan State's been pretty bad thus far this season, have not won a Big Ten game this season. But again, they take on their in-state rival. It should be a pretty impressive game. Records go out the window.